Get ready for truth and common sense. Join the Framers View on rumble.com to be part of the chat. Be sure to click join and follow to help keep the Framer on the air. Watch the replay on theframersview.com or rumble.com.
And happy TRUMPMAS. The day has finally arrived. We made it. Whoo! First of all, thank you. I think I'm like a half a minute late or something, but that's okay. We got done with the inauguration part. We got done with the oaths of office. I had a massive amount of video that I had to edit in about 20 minutes. So we made that work, and we're going to show you here at the beginning the J.D. Vance and Trump inauguration with a couple of other things. And bear with me because honestly, I decided today there's going to be some stuff I'm going to show that's a little longer than usual. But if you didn't get to see it, I want you to. And if you did see it, you probably want to see it again. And then we'll give it a bunch of other stuff. I don't even have notes for the show. This was a big deal today. You know, I think about this day and what we've just accomplished. When I say we, the public that voted for the President of the United States to be Donald J. Trump. And, you know, when that happened, what we really have experienced is retribution and success ahead. Retribution in what happened in 2020. I don't have any proof of it, but I know what I believe. And then we've got the issue of Trump saying, hey, we're going to release the Kennedy records. We're going to release the Nixon records. We're going to release these things and let the public know what happened. And, you know, I have to say, I think to myself, this is bold, because if he said he wasn't going to do it in the last term, and now he is, the gloves are off. I think that's what it boils down to. And the sadness of what this might be. We'll find out. But, you know, I was disappointed that Trump wasn't going to have his opportunity outside of the Capitol. And then, you know, I thought to myself as it was beginning indoors, it really works out a lot better. You can see, you can hear a lot better. It was a very special moment, let's put it that way. I cut a whole bunch out that was just nonsense and unnecessary, some things I'd like to put on, but I want to show this video for the whole idea of people to be able to see what really happened and the importance of it. I also, while that was going on, I recorded Trump's speech, and I will be presenting that tomorrow with some edits and things so that you can see the most important parts. But we'll have that tomorrow on Tuesday. So that's where we are. Man, it is cold. They were talking about it being so cold in D.C. I think it's like 26 to 28 degrees. That's like summer. Right now it's 0 here. It was 10 or 11 below 0 this morning. It's a cold day, and we're not in hell. So thank goodness for that. So this is the video that I captured of the inauguration, not this whole event, all the people that are coming in, parading in, just what I felt was the most important that I could put together. And like I said, in 40 minutes of video to turn it into 3 minutes. So watch this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, the Honorable Donald John Trump.
Father, when Donald Trump's enemies thought he was down and out, you and you alone saved his life and raised him up with strength and power by your mighty hand. We pray for President Trump that you'll watch over, protect, guide, direct him. Give him your wisdom from your throne on high.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Associate Justice Kavanaugh to administer the Vice Presidential Oath of Office.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear.
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation, or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge, the duties of the office, on which I am about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
We did it. We made it. Whew. Finally, the beginning of his speech, by the way, was spectacular and pretty ballsy, some of the things he said with Biden standing right behind him, which tells you the character of Trump, that he isn't going to give in, fall to, or be subject of what was the past. He's moving forward. And like I said, we'll have the video of that tomorrow. We'll cover some of those things. I'll have everything brought up in pieces so that we can talk about them. But it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. And here we are. I wanted to point something out that I did a little research. And, Grover Cleveland was the only other president that was inaugurated twice, separated by somebody else that was in office, and then he came back in. It is a stunning experience to see that happen. And when you see these kind of things, you just have to appreciate the power that this has. But look at this story. Alex Coe for the New York Times. He says, Grover Cleveland's presidential comeback is a true cautionary tale for Trump. You're going to love this because this just tells the whole story of how these people think. They both won a second term after losing the previous election. But Cleveland's second administration was such a disaster, it put his party out of power for decades. This is what they are hoping for. Trust me on this. They're praying for this. Despite their contrasting styles, Cleveland's stubborn adherence versus Trump's mercurial shifts, both approaches risk the same disastrous end, a party in disarray. The party in disarray are the Democrats right now. Just as Cleveland's policy led to William Jennings Bryan's populist takeover of the Democrats in 1896, Trump's volatility could trigger the schism between MAGA loyalists and traditional conservatives fracturing the GOP coalition. Now, first of all, this is a dream of theirs that Trump is going to mess everything up. I think this is where the separation is going to be. I think that we're going to see everything happen for a reason. And I want to talk about that, this happening for a reason. I believe in God, first of all. The things that happen, I remember years ago when I was walking on one of my walks. I live in the foothills outside of Denver with absolute beautiful views. And, I wasn't as religious as I am today, but I was walking along, and you get that way after you go through a few life-threatening situations, but that's beside the point. And I looked out over the horizon and the mountains, and I thought to myself, this doesn't just happen. We're not just this lucky. These things happen. And I believe that what Trump did in 2017 to 2021, before he was voted out of office, was the foundation for what brought him here today, what made him the President of the United States today. And I believe this is important to understand, because I'm not sure he would have had the power he has now if we hadn't been reminded of what could happen if you make a bad decision for President of the United States. This is really what I've been thinking about a lot. I hated it that he didn't win in 20, that there wasn't an inauguration in 2021 for Trump. And then I thought to myself, we let these things happen as they do. They're controlled by a power higher than us. And all of these people that went on, and it's really a stunning experience to see now, to have somebody that ran for office a second time after a break for 4 years, for the public to see how oil prices went up, how economies went down, how mortgage rates went up, how credit card rates went up, how people's jobs went away, how people couldn't afford to live, how people wondered what they were going to do. And I will share with you that part of this experience is something that happened yesterday when I went to pick up some things at Costco. And on my little simple list were just a few things that we needed to fix dinner and some things we forgot to get the last time we were there. And I walked back to the back section of the cooler where eggs are. And there's not a single egg, not a carton, but not a single egg even broken there. And I went to the guy, one of the guys that's working there, and I said, when are you going to have some eggs? And he said, I don't know. He says, there's no way to know if we're going to get any anytime soon. And I was reminded that there's two elements of this. One is the bird flu, which is basically a light case of the flu. If you really think about it, it is not a severe situation. And in Colorado, the liberal, out of control craziness that's happened in our state, where you're no longer allowed to have any eggs that aren't cage-free. Now, Costco has had cage-free eggs for a long time, so it's not like they couldn't do that. But the things and the decisions that have been made by people that have been elected, that have been already brought out as really bad choices, this is really a sign of why Trump is here today. Why Trump is now going to have an opportunity to truly make America great again. He did it. It was on its way, and we went down into a dark, deep hole. And if you don't agree with me, then you haven't followed the history of the last 4 years. When they talk about all the successes he had, a success in their mind is they got something done. That doesn't necessarily mean it was a good thing for America, for the people that live in this country. You know, I used to go when prices were over $4 a gallon, and for God save the poor people in California, $5 and $6 a gallon. And I would always yell out as I finished filling my tank, "Thank you, Joe Biden." It is so clear that the events of the last 4 years is without question done two things. Number one, it has given Trump the opportunity to win the election. That's huge. But it's also created a complete different experience with the people of the press and the people even of the other party. And the power that Trump now has, because everybody knows, you know, the first time I got punched in the nose, you know, I mean, truly punched in the nose by somebody that I was fighting in the ring, not on the street. And, you know, you practice and you spar and you get hit. Until somebody hits you with true intent, it causes you to step back and think to yourself, I don't want that to happen again. I'm going to protect myself better. Well, the punch in the nose was the American people, me and you, that were out there and had the opportunity to see what was happening for 4 years with Biden and Harris. The idiocy, the destructiveness, the unthought-provoking stupidity that occurred, opening the border, even though they said, oh no, the border's closed. The border is open. People all around the world are taking advantage of us. People all over the world are doing things that we would have never expected. Now we know what weakness in the White House can mean. We know that we're very fortunate to not have a war today that involves us. We survived that. But it isn't really as simple as, okay, we made it and we're okay. Now we have to step forward and be successful. So, next little piece that I want to show you is a guy named Craig Shirley. Craig Shirley is a historian, presidential historian, and he has a fascinating amount of information about Biden. There's some talk about the fact, will Biden even have a presidential library? I think there's something in Congress says that there has to be a presidential library for each president. But first you have to be able to raise the money to do it. And I don't know if Biden's going to be able to do that. Maybe he will. We'll find out. And he talks about this on this video. Watch this and we'll talk about it on the other side.
It's interesting. It's interesting that Jimmy Carter was a good man but a weak president, and the country was in crisis, and the country needed strong, decisive leadership, and that's why they turned it around Reagan. Joe Biden is also a weak and indecisive president, also corrupt, and after his 4 years, after 4 years of just total disaster, the country needed strong, decisive leadership, so it turned to Donald Trump. Joe Biden will go down in history as our worst president, our most incompetent, and our most buffoonish, and our most corrupt. That much is certain. You know, I doubt his presidential library is ever going to be built. Nobody's writing. I'm certainly not going to write a book about the Biden presidency. I don't know anybody who is. So I think it's going to go down in history as just 4 bleak years that we're just coming out of now with the sunshine of the election and the inauguration of
And this is a powerful statement by a guy that he's written books, he's a historian, he's reviewed so many presidents and so many success stories or not, and in this case, not. You know, Biden had an opportunity. This is a guy that 50 years ago wanted to be president of the United States, probably 70 years ago, when he was a kid. He wanted to be president of the United States. You know, he comes into office 50 years ago, and as people have said, there's never a time where Biden has been on the correct side of a decision. He's just not good at it. And he just kept pounding on it, and finally became vice president because Obama knew that Biden would just totally do whatever he was told to do, and he did. But he gave him enough strength to be able to run for office after Hillary lost to Trump. And there he was. And he won, maybe. But you know what? I've talked about getting promoted to a level of incompetency. That's what happened here. That is definitely what happened here. This is an example of somebody that didn't belong in that office, but wanted it so badly that he got it. Good for him. He pulled it off. But it made him look as weak as he really is, as incapable as he really is. And then put on top of that, which is, in my opinion, the biggest issue, and that is his medical issues, his mental issues. The man is not capable of making any decisions. There's things he doesn't even remember when he's interviewed. And that's scary. So he surrounded himself, and we all are, our job is to surround ourselves by good, strong, powerful people. That is what a good leader does. You know, people always said, you know, you're careful who you hire because they could try to take your job, or they could do this or do that. Well, you know, I would suggest to you that when you hire somebody that is as good or better than you, it will only make you look better. It will only give you an opportunity to move forward and do more if you truly are strong. There are people who will have better ideas than you do, no matter who you are, no matter how good you are. That's fact. But these are the issues that happen. Now, with Biden, he surrounded himself with people that would protect him. And when I say protect, I'm talking about, you know, the press, which he didn't hire them, but they certainly covered for him. And then all of the politicians that kept saying, oh no, Biden's a good guy. He knows what he's doing. He's smart. He's sharper than everybody else in the room. Just making it look like he's a real guy. And, you know, you can say that, you can think that, and you can wish you had that, but it's not true, and it wasn't. Chuck Schumer, you know, his comments, you know, and now they're saying, well, we said that because he was a candidate and we had to support him. So we had to lie to make somebody that was going to be dangerous, to make our country in danger. We had to do that. That's what we had to do. And one of those that was a total butt kisser to Joe Biden, and I don't care what anybody says, and that's Merrick Garland, who did all the bidding for Joe Biden and all the people that wanted to hurt Trump. And they sure tried. I can tell you, my buddies will tell you I've got a huge ego. I admit it. But I don't think there's a chance in hell I could have survived what Trump went through, even if I had his money. I mean, you'd have to have millions of dollars just to survive what they did to him. But to mentally survive that is fascinating. So I've got a video of Garland. I've got a few I want to show you because we need to remember this to never let it happen again. You have to have history in your mind to keep from allowing it to happen again. You know, as I said, that first time you get punched in the nose, you never forget it. And if you've never been punched in the nose by somebody that really wants to smear your nose across your face, you should have it done, just so you understand what that's like and that you won't forget it. But Tom Cotton was interviewing Merrick Garland. Watch this first one. This is really amazing.
Attorney General Garland, you said in our last exchange that it's your practice to defer to FBI agents in the field. I was interested, given your answer, to read in this morning's Washington Post that the FBI is saying that you overruled them when it came to raiding ex-President Trump's personal residence. Washington Post reports this morning, showdown before the raid, that senior FBI officials who would be in charge of leading the search resisted doing so as too combative. These field agents wanted to shutter the criminal investigation altogether, but they were overruled by Maine DOJ.
I've skimmed that article. That's not an accurate reflection of what the article says, and I'm not able to comment on the investigation. My comment earlier was about tactics on the ground in particular cases.
Wait. You said it's not I'm reading to you from the article. Quote, senior FBI officials who would be in charge of leading the search resisted the plan as too combative and proposed instead to seek Trump's permission to seek his property, according to 4 people, end quote.
There is often a robust discussion, and in the end, and it's encouraged among investigators and prosecutors.
Yes, and you made the decision.
I did. That's
right. You said you did.
No, I'm sorry. What I said was I approved the decision.
So you didn't make the decision to raid?
I approved the decision to seek a search warrant after probable cause was
overruling the FBI agents who did not want to do so. Did you talk about this with the White House?
Boy, this is what I'm talking about. You know, Merrick Garland, and I'm going to show you a video that's just disgusting. Merrick Garland did the bidding of Biden. Biden bidding Biden. Bamboozled bidding for Biden. I don't know. But my point is, this guy was bad news. Thank God, when the time was coming that they needed a Supreme Court justice, and Merrick Garland didn't get in. This is an example. When you look at somebody and you know this person can't do it, by evidence of their performance up to that moment. And Merrick Garland wasn't capable. Just not capable. So, continue with Merrick Garland.
The memorandum does not, Washington Post article does not say what you're saying. I'm sorry. And I'm not able to describe this in any further.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just ask that this entire article be entered into the record.
Without objection.
And we can read for ourselves. I invite people to go and look. It says exactly that FBI field agents did not want to conduct the raid, and they were overruled by DOJ. So it doesn't seem to me, Attorney General, that the FBI has a lot of confidence in you. Because what they're doing clearly is trying to distance themselves from your decisions. They're out there leaking left, right, and center and saying it wasn't us. We didn't want to do it. He made us do it. What's that say about their confidence in your leadership?
No, the previous senator said that they're leaking all in favor of the left. Now you're saying they're leaking in favor of the left.
Answer my question based on this evidence. Don't dissemble, Attorney General. Answer my question.
Time is expired, Senator Cotton.
Yeah, time has expired. His time has expired. Apologize, I had that video laid in twice. I put all this together so fast, I didn't even know it. But we got the video done for the first one I showed you with the oath for Trump. Whew. Yeah. So here we are. This is today such an important moment. Yesterday, Trump did the wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers. So Trump is so patriotic. It's so clear. The people that hate him cannot stop and see what's really happened, to see what his successes have been, to see what his commitment is to America. I would suggest if you've been shot in the head, it's the ear, but it's still the head. If you've been shot, you might go, I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore. But instead, he rose from the ground, from the stage, put up his hand and said, fight. And then people come up with the idea it was staged. Well, I would suggest to you, by the speed of a bullet from 100 and some yards away, You can't stage that. And you couldn't time it to turn your head that fast or that perfect timing. And on top of that, the guy that shot him had a cop coming up on the roof. There was pressure. There was huge pressure. And it's a miracle that Trump's alive. More importantly than the fact that he's alive, that he stuck with it. And again, the resolve of this man is amazing. And I don't have to preach it. I get it, you're thinking I'm preaching it. But it's not a preaching. It is a reminder of who this guy will be from right now until he ends his administration at the end of 25, January of 25, of January 29. So here we are. We've got people like Merrick Garland, who's gone. I'm going to show you that here in a second. But it really takes another step of amazing commitment to do what he's done, to be there, to make it happen. God bless him. So Garland, which of course his last day was Friday, I guess, he's leaving the Justice Department building, whatever they call that, I can't remember. And as he's walking out, there's people applauding him. And this is the disgusting part. Do these people really support Merrick Garland? Or are they doing it because they were told to? Or are they doing it because they felt like, we kind of got to do this? You know how you have that party for somebody that resigned or retired, and you're thinking, please, don't let the door hit you on the way out. But watch this. I just did it. This was like 4 minutes. I cut it way down. But watch this. Yeah, this, don't watch it again. This is an example. I think that group, just by watching them, looks on their face. I always look past where they were standing and applauding, past where Garland was beyond them, of them going, she's turn around and walking away or whatever. And this went on all the way until he walked out and he got in his limousine for his last ride away from the office. But it's disgusting. This guy was bad news followed by bad news with a lot of bad news, and he was bad news because he's bad news. And that's bad news. But that is what it is. And we will always have to remember that when somebody's about to be elected or be positioned for a position, be put in that spot to get into a position, look at their history. Look at who Merrick Garland was. And thank God he didn't even get into being able to be reviewed by the Senate to go into the Supreme Court. That could have been awful. A lifetime appointment with this guy. It just, bad news. Could have been really bad. Speaking of bad news, I don't want to bring too much bad news all at one time, but in case you don't know it, yes, Biden, with all of his, I won't do this and I won't do that. I won't pardon Hunter. No, I won't do that. We all know it was bull. But now he's done his preemptive pardons. And if you didn't see this in the news, I wish I would have said Friday, watch when he does the preemptive pardons, because I knew it was going to happen. I think I've said it in times, but I wanted to say it Friday, and It spaced me. I spaced it. So here's the story. Biden issues preemptive pardons for Fauci, Milley, January 6th committee. President Joe Biden, January 20th, issued preemptive pardons for Dr. Anthony Fauci, retired General Mark Milley, and people who served on the U.S. House of Representatives Committee investigating the January 6, 2021 breach of the U.S. Capitol. Now, think about this. These are people that haven't even been investigated. How bad is this? How bad is Anthony? How bad is Milley? We're going to see this in a minute. How bad is the January 6th committee? Well, let's take a look at that. The pardons were granted to former Liz Cheney and other members of the House Select Committee on January 6th, which disbanded in early 2023. Pardons were also given to Michael Fanone, a retired Metropolitan Police Department officer following the January 21 Capitol breach, and other officers who testified before the House committee. This just goes on and on. It's amazing. The January 6th committee failed to archive certain files and deleted others. We know this now, according to Republican lawmakers who reviewed the panel's investigation. The pardons, now, by the way, deleting evidence when they've been told to retain that evidence, well, you shouldn't even have to be told, but they were reminded of that. The pardon also covers Milley, who served as the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff in 2019 through 23, and Fauci, who was the director of the National Institute of Allergy, blah, 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 from 1984 until he retired in 2022. Okay. Milley has admitted that he told a Chinese general during the first Trump administration, Marie didn't even remember this, my wife, it was a big story, that the United States was not going to attack China. He had no right to do that. While Fauci has been accused of lying under oath about his knowledge of research in China. Ladies and germs, the corruptness, I've talked about corrupt, but the big one is because of the time and the money that was spent and the angst for Republicans watching it happen and the Democrats thinking they're going to put Trump in prison, was the January 6th investigation. First of all, now knowing that there were assets of the FBI there, up on a ladder, up on something, telling people, come on in, come on in. We know that now. We've got the video of it. For Ashley Babbitt that was shot by a policeman that has never been even investigated. By the people, there's some people, by the way, that did break the law. No question about it. But there's some people that basically just followed the invite of the people who were standing there that was, you know, in that moment, I don't know how you would know what's right or wrong. Just wouldn't. But those things happen. And then the investigation. And then as soon as we got the power in the House, and we went after the documents to be able to investigate how that committee was operated, which was an ABC television show by the ABC producer that put that together. And finding out that all the exculpatory evidence was deleted. They got rid of it so that nobody would ever know what other people said. And yeah, we can pull those people in, but I don't know if it's worth it. Now, everybody's pardoned anyway. The people that did the bad stuff is not going to be there. We have a time and space here. I started that and I can't continue. We have a point here where we really kind of have to just go, okay, let's just let this go and let's make America great again. That's really what we're talking about. So as this goes on and we have to get there, there's people that we have to be reminded of what was happening before Trump got in. And I am sharing this with you because it's important stuff to be able to see and remember. Because again, when the next election comes up, we have to remember what these things were.
Donald Trump will never, ever be president of the United States.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States.
I am so sorry to my world. I am so sorry to my world. This is not what we...
Years. No, tell me this isn't. And you know what she doesn't understand? Things are going to be much better now.
Things are going to be much better now. And his speech today is a little, as much as I had the opportunity to see a little bit of it while I was doing the editing of the oath of office process. You know, they, from that moment, well, even before that moment when he took the oath back in 17, when that occurred, the press had already said the impeachment process is beginning. Before the guy ever did anything, before he ever got an opportunity to do anything. And that's the sadness of what we've had. 2 impeachments that are completely baloney, and it just went on and on and on, and we have to move on. So, with that said, let's take a look at some things of the positivity of Donald Trump. Because I really do think, you know, some people like to just loathe. They loathe life in general. They can't stand, they wake up in the morning angry. I could have felt that way with Biden and knowing what he did. Knowing what he did at the border. Knowing what he did in Afghanistan. Knowing what he did in so many places. And he got away with it. And of course, he's got immunity because the Supreme Court said that. And that's fine. I don't think you could have a time where there wasn't immunity during the presidency because you wouldn't do anything. Because you're going to go to jail. Somebody's going to go after you. And if you got the right people or the wrong people against you when you come out of the office, you're going directly to the orange suit. You're heading to jail. The trial will be, it's over and you're okay, see ya. Rest of your life. They had to have immunity. Not to break the law, but to make decisions. Even the stupid decisions by Joe Biden. So we have to respect that. So let's take a look at some positive things. And part of that is about Israel and what Trump has done even before he was voted, before he was given the oath of office, before he even stepped into the White House as the president again. The things that he has done. Watch this. We'll talk about it on the other side.
I'm so happy for them and their families. I'm so happy for them and their families that they will be united soon. And again, this is a result of President Trump. I mean, this is clearly President Trump showing strength. They understand that peace through strength is coming back. And the man who brokered the Abraham Accords and brought peace to the Middle East will once again work to restore it. This ceasefire would not happen if it were not for his leadership. He had appointed an envoy immediately after being elected, and this is a result of his work. Now, what I will say is that as President Biden helped create this war by funding Iran, by lifting sanctions, by issuing waivers, by unfreezing assets. That is why Hamas had the tools, the resources, and the weaponry to attack Israel. We have to be clear about that. And now we're seeing what happens when President Trump is the leader. He's not even sworn in yet, and he's made such an amazing difference here. He really is incredible when it comes to foreign policy and dealing with governments as well as these types of terrorists, Hamas, who are savages. And
he was sworn at a lot, and finally he got sworn in. Thank you for that opportunity. For everybody that's voted for this guy, everybody that stood up and said, you know what, enough is enough. everybody that realized, for all intents and purposes, that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris could not continue another 4 years and have this country survive. These are the things that are making a difference. And Melitakis, I think she's getting a position with Trump. I can't remember which one. There's so many of them. It's hard to keep track. But this is an opportunity now to make a difference. So, again, Trump succeeding before he even got into office. And Brent Safler, I think it is, made a comment. He's a former Navy captain, and he talked about the effect that Trump had.
I think the Trump factor in this was a critical element to bring this deal across the line. And just to stress, this could still fall apart. This unfortunately has a tradition in this region for good deals to fall apart or to never really get off the ground. So being cautiously optimistic, I think, is the right approach to this. And just to remind everyone, there are still Americans that are being held and that we don't know the conditions of. And really, we won't be beyond this until all the Americans are back home.
So, this Israel thing is really on a tightrope. You know, Biden put this thing together as far as the negotiations along with Trump, but he didn't really have the strength of being able to say, hey, look, here's how it's going to work, or we're going to dust you. So 3 people have gotten out. We now have something like 16 days or something, and then they're going to negotiate the second phase. This is in my opinion, there should have been one phase. We're going to release these people, this date, this date, this date. There's no more negotiation. Hamas could change their mind. They could say, yeah, no, we're not going to do it. The poor people that had those 3 people that just got released yesterday, which thanks to Trump saying they better be out. Now, he had to soften up a little bit because he wasn't in office to enact what he was going to enact. But they didn't even know whether these 2 ladies were going to be walking out of the airport or be in body bags. Sorry to be disgusting with that, but they didn't know. Nobody knew. Are they alive or not? And we don't know about the next group of people. We don't know. So now I think that the folks at Hamas and Iran, who's telling Hamas where to walk, how to walk, and where to go, probably are thinking a little differently. And I would almost bet you that Trump's people are already there saying, don't try something. I just know how he thinks. He's strong. And I can't wait to get some video of him. In case you didn't know it, he's got a desk on the stage at the arena that he was at last night, where the crowd is coming in again today. He's got a desk there, and he's going to sign executive orders right there in front of people. And he's going to supposedly do some things that people aren't expecting, which is no surprise. But that's where we are today. Now, part of the success, if you will, part of the necessary success is getting the people in power that he wants as his secretaries and his supporters. And of course, Pete Hegseth is one of those. And Pete Hegseth, after watching him, I was hot on him. Then I went cold seeing some of the things. Then I realized a lot of the stuff that they're saying there's no evidence of what they're claiming. They've got anonymous. I mean, somebody could walk up to a microphone someplace and, say things about me that's totally not true, and everybody would want to believe it, that hates me. That can happen. Hegseth's the same thing. But in a positive site, Jim Jordan had some comments. Watch this.
It seemed like he was just doing a masterful job. I don't think anyone laid a glove on him, and he came across as just like knowing what he's getting into, knowing what he's up to, the skill set that you want. And I think Pete, like all the other people President Trump has put forward as his nominees for these key positions, represents the attitude the American people voted for on November 5th. They want folks leading these agencies who are going to clean them up, make sure these agencies serve we the people, not be weaponized against the taxpayers, but actually serve the taxpayers. I think Pete Hegseth has that attitude, and of course his experience as a warfighter himself, I think is tremendously important as well.
It is. You know, everybody says he's unqualified. He's not ready for the position. He never will be. Well, you know, again, if you get punched in the nose the first time, you don't forget it. And Pete Hegseth has been there. He was in battle. He was in Afghanistan. I'm not sure which other places he's been in, but he's served in battle zones. He's led people. He's led fellow military people. And this is an experience that's important. The other aspect of it is, it's not like he's sitting in his office making all the decisions with nobody to talk to. He's going to have the lifetime people there. He's going to have people that are going to be advising him, which are probably going to be people that Trump is going to appoint to make sure they're there. And Pete Hegseth will bring people in that are going to be good advisors to make good decisions. And I think he's going to get approved. I really do. I think it's just another example of the power of him and the power of the Senate now, with it being controlled by the Republicans. Now, there's another piece that Jordan talked about in the same program that he was on that's near and dear to my heart, and that's about women's rights in sports. Just women's rights, first of all, but in sports, especially, to protect them from men that are playing against them. And Jim Jordan made some very powerful points about the passing of this bill for the women's rights, and his being stunned that so many Democrats voted against it. But watch this.
I don't know, but I guess, I mean, it's so common sense, but the fact that only 2 Democrats would vote for it, I was hoping for more. And frankly, I expected a few more Democrats to support this common sense legislation, particularly in light of what happened last week, where we had, I think, 48 Democrats support us on the Lake and Riley Act. So I'm a little surprised we didn't get more Democrats. This is good legislation. It's good common sense. Again, it's one of those issues I think the American people voted on. They said we don't want crazy. We want common sense in the policies that come from our legislature, from our Congress. This is one of those policies. So hopefully we can get it through the Senate. But the Lake and Riley Act, I think, has a much better chance in light of the fact we got 48 Democrats who voted for it last week.
Yeah. I don't know why anybody would vote against women rights. What happened to Me Too and, you know, all of the women rights agendas that's been out there for years? Have we really gone so far that if it's a bill that the Republicans are after, that you just say no to it? Would you go so crazy is that, when you've got a bunch of buddies at the bar and you're so committed to your buddies at the bar, when somebody comes along and wants to shoot your wife in the head and you love her, there is a catch on that probably, and you go, yeah, go ahead and shoot her, because your buddies want her gone too. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about here. We've got a women's right bill to protect women in Title IX, to protect women in women's sports. And all of these Democrats vote against it. That has to change. And I think there's a little piece of me that hopes that will be the case, that it will change, that they will realize we can't go any further. We saw this in the confirmation hearings with all of these people that have been going through this process in the Senate. The Democrats are getting softer and softer because they're realizing their constituents are saying, stop it. Except for Schiff and a few other jerks. But they realize that these are qualified people, just like Pam Bondi. You know, they wanted to just rip on her, but they all know that she's totally, completely qualified. And for them to say, well, she's loyal to Trump. Yeah, do you think Trump's going to you don't choose somebody that hates you to take a position in your administration. You take somebody in that's going to be powerful and do the right thing and follow the law. And so, as far as I can tell, Trump has not broken a single law. Even the things he's been found guilty. He's a convicted felon. It's 34 counts of the same thing. It's 34 pieces of paper. And everybody knows this is not a federal offense. But it happened that way. Alvin Bragg made it work. Who isn't even doesn't even have the authority to try a federal case with a judge that isn't a federal judge. But it all happened. It's called corrupt. That's the way it works. And one more point of interest is to remind you, again, I showed this on the video a little bit ago, which was the thing about Garland overriding the FBI that said, no, we don't think, the FBI saying, we don't think we should be doing this. It's over the top. And to go and raid Mar-a-Lago in the night. And of course, CNN shows up when nobody else knew about it. Wonder how that happened. But there's another little piece of it that is just maddening, and I'm going to show this to you. This kind of crazy. So we're past this. We're past it. And there's still people out there that are going to say their silliness and do their silliness. We know that. I think we're blessed. I totally think we're blessed. But I want to show one final thing before we go. And that is when people say, well, the rich and the fair share, they have to pay their fair share. I want to show you a sign of rich. And it's okay. What I'm about to show you, it's okay that this person has this. They should be able to have it because they've got a lot of money. But don't tell me that it's not fair that people are wealthy. This is a picture of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama in their wine cellar. And there's something you want to see, and here it is. can't be possible that these people can do this. That's got to stop. So thank you for voting for Donald Trump. Thank you for bringing logic to the White House. We'll talk more about what's going to happen next with Trump tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. We're going to discuss the things that we can look forward to and probably some crazy stuff that's going to be going on that we wouldn't have expected. But until then, thank your lucky stars we got Donald Trump in the office. And I'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Until then, carry on.
Thanks for your support. Join the Framers View Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.